What is up, everybody? Welcome back to MLB Swing for the Fences here on Run Pure Sports YouTube channel, talking Tuesday's 11-game MLB slate as we get into the back end of some of these rotations. First show of the year with Mr. Boynton over there, and I realize we kind of have a similar look going on. Boring-ass background, white sweatshirt, a hat on. Wasn't planned, but, maybe fitting for today. Boynton, how you doing on this Tuesday afternoon?
Yeah, not planned, and we come on with the same outfit. So good starts of the year for us. It's been a good start to the season. I always have to change things quickly, going straight from college hoops right into baseball. But yeah, I had a good weekend. I know a bunch of the people in our Discord had a good weekend. Both AP and Bryce, Third and Strong, had big days yesterday. Always good to get a nice hit the first week or two of the year. Just kind of takes pressure off a bit. You can play a little looser with some stacks, take some chances. So always good to get off to a good start. I had a lineup in the lotto on Saturday that was in first until the last inning, the last game, but I ended up getting third. So we take that. And 11-game slate. I was able to ease in on Friday with stats because it was like a 7 or 8 gamer. We took our time a little bit, but 11 games here. And as I'm sure you've been talking about on your shows, the quality of pitching, even earlier in the season, is a little suspect. So especially the starters. So we'll see how this goes throughout the year.
Yeah, big slate today, so we won't spend too much time on it. But I do think, we were talking about day 2, right? It seemed like there were a bunch of mediocre arms out there. And I think the way baseball has gone, it's really hard to be an effective starting pitcher for 5 or 6 innings compared to the bullpen arms, right? Who can go out there and blast away for 20 pitches, every other day or whatever it is. So yeah, starting pitching is tough. I do think it's going to lead to more, it could go one of 2 ways, right? Kind of the haves or the have-nots, the aces of the league kind of separate themselves. And then it does seem like there's going to be a huge kind of middle class of pitching. You see it in the projections. We were talking about yesterday where, we both trust captains' projections a lot. And in terms of point per dollar, they were all in a narrow range. Of course, that's not how the games end up going, right? Yeah. There's always going to be pitchers that perform and those that get blown out. But in terms of projections, you do see, it seems like a pretty tight range on a lot of these pitchers. So, various strategy implications to talk about with that. And we'll talk about that stuff, of course, as we go along on this slate. But we do have 11 games to get to. Steve, do you want to do pitching by itself first, or do you want to go game by game and talk as the pitchers? I don't know what people prefer.
Let's just go game by game, and we can talk the pitchers as we go along. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's kind of how I like to do it too. But yeah, we'll do it that way for today at least, and then we can take feedback, tell us what you like, and we'll make the show for the people. So we do start in Tampa, the new, obviously not new stadium, but new place to play for the Tampa Rays in George Steinbrenner Field. We do see it. It's going to be hot and humid. It's still Tampa, right? But it's outdoors. It's going to be this way all spring. And then, this place is going to be just a humidity melting box when you get into July. I can't imagine what the games are.
There's weekend games here, on Saturday afternoon in July. Yeah.
It's going to be just nuts how hot and humid it's going to be. But for now, 80 degrees and 70% humidity, plenty of heat in Tampa. We both think this park is going to really end up being a hitter's paradise, right? It essentially looks like it's Yankee Stadium, but hot and humid. It'd be like if Yankee Stadium, was 80 degrees and 70% humidity every day. Yeah. You'd be stacking the crap out of it. So it seems like that's the approach that we should be having to this stadium. We should be expecting runs here. Now, obviously, the Rays offense, I know they went off yesterday. In general, I don't think they're that great. And then, Pittsburgh playing there right now, obviously not a great offense either. Pitching-wise, we've got Shane Baz going for the Rays. He's definitely a talented pitcher, has shown high upside at times. Gets a pretty good matchup here, honestly, against the Pirates, despite the park. And then on the other side, going to be Harrington for the Pirates. looks like a pretty good young pitcher. I think he's 22, 23 years old, performed pretty well in the minor leagues, but obviously a different story coming up here to the bigs to make his season debut. Curious where you ended up, Steve, on Tampa and Pittsburgh to start us off.
Yeah, and I can use either pitcher here. I echo all of the things that you said about Steinbrenner Field. Yeah, it's the dimensions mimic Yankee Stadium. It's just in Florida. So in the heat and humidity, like you said. Harrington, major league debut. Decent upside arm, and like he's showed some stuff in the minors, but he's more, from what I've been reading, like a command control guy, not an overpowering arm. Not really known for missing bats, even at the minor league level. So I like the Rays here. They were the top stack I put in the playbook today. He gives up a ton of fly balls. So I do like the Rays. I was on them last night, specifically the cheap guys, because I wanted to play Dodgers last night, and they had like Aranda, Meisner, and Mangum all cheap. So that's what I did in my main last night. That worked out. Kind of want to go back to them here. The whole lineup is very cheap outside of Caminero. So yeah, I like the Rays a lot. I think that they work well with the top pitching on the slate, which we'll get to. There are several options that are either in good spots or they're high strikeout guys who are priced down a bit because of matchup, like Chris Sale. So I like the Rays offense a good bit here. I think you can make an argument that they're one of the top teams on the slate. And then I'm going to have some Pittsburgh against Shane Baz. He's an arm that I've probably tried to play too much over the last couple of years when he's been healthy. Throws hard, was hitting 100 in spring, but I think he's going to have some power issues. So specifically the top of this order, DC.
The top four, right?
Reynolds, leading off for 3,200. Reynolds, Cruz, Bart. I think I'm going to keep in my pool for 2 and 3 mans and one-offs here.
All those guys have significant power. Sawinski, Reynolds, Cruz, Bart. We know Baz can be a little bit wild at times. And we're pretty sure this park is going to be friendly to, specifically left-handed power, right? With the short porch in right field. So
like Yankee Stadium, yep.
So, this is one of those, the Sawinski like opening slate dong, like feels like it.
Inevitable,
yeah. Can see it, at least in my mind's eye. So that's Rays and Pirates. Good game to start us off there. We're both – it's honestly hard not to be on the Rays here, right? Against a control rookie pitcher in this park. I mean, cheap prices, they make a lot of sense. We go to actual Yankee Stadium next. Obviously, Yankees and D-backs here. We've got Corbin Burns making his debut for the D-backs. A little bit weird that they saved him, I guess you could say.
Waited to use him for Yankee Stadium.
I think I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, pitching for the D-backs, we've seen Burns' strikeout rates be in decline like each of the last, I think, 4 or 5 seasons. Mm-hmm. But the results have still been good, right? He still doesn't get hit around very often. So I don't know. I mean, this Yankees team right now, they've just been so ridiculously good. Is a little bit colder. 50 degrees. But wind's blowing out to right center field, so we could see offense here. And then Will Warren going for the Yankees. Looks like they're going to, he's kind of a long man type-ish last year. I don't think he went more than 5 innings in any of his appearances. Pitched okay, I guess. I don't know. There's some hype around Will Warren, but he's another one. I think I got to see it first, and I kind of like these D-backs bats, Steve. What are you doing with D-backs and Yankees here?
Yeah, both of these teams, red-hot offensive teams to start the year. Tough price tags, I think, on the Yankees side because of that. We see basically everyone priced up. Jazz is priced up. Bellinger's priced up. Like you said with Burns, like the strikeout rate has been down, but just so little hard contact. Like he's getting by on, broken bats, double plays. Very rarely does it snowball bad for him. Mm-hmm. And at these price tags, I think I'm going to wait and play the Yankees later in the series in a different matchup. I'm with you on the Arizona lefties. Warren, talented arm, but I think he's going to have trouble with lefties, and especially in this park with this lineup. There's a bunch of left-handed bats in this lineup. for the Snakes today. I mean, we got Carroll, Marte, Pavin Smith, Naylor, McCarthy, Thomas. I mean, there's 7 righties. Yeah. So no Warren from me here. I will be playing some Snakes despite the high price tags on Carroll and Marte. It's really balanced out by how cheap the bottom of the order is. So I prefer the Snakes bats here. I think they're the best spots in this game overall.
Alec Thomas down there at 2,200 in the 8-hole has looked good so far. Talented player, hasn't done much at the big league level. He's a guy I got my eye on. And at 2,200, obviously, can do a lot worse. So he's a guy to mix in there if you need a cheap outfielder. Maybe a wraparound stack with the D-backs could work. What about Burns? You playing any Corbin Burns tonight?
He didn't make my pool. Not a guy that I've played a ton of the last few years. I think he's okay. Yeah. But I usually try to get my pool down to 5 to 7 guys, and he was one of the ones that just didn't make it. Don't really want to be playing into the Yankees at Yankee Stadium right now. Yeah. Despite me thinking that he is a good arm.
I'm with you there. I don't think he's a terrible play. Not going to make my personal lineups. Not doing mass multi-entry. If I was, he would certainly be in the mix. But I've got 3 on DK, 4 on FanDuel today. So not going to be on Burns. Again, I think he's a fine play. Let's go to Toronto next. Blue Jays hosting the Nationals here. Trevor Williams, veteran pitcher for the Nationals, kind of a just a guy, right? An SP4-ish type, which we got a lot of those going today. But he'll take on the Blue Jays, and then Jose Barrios will take on the left-handed heavy Nationals, who to start this game or their lineup with 6 straight lefties, and has me pretty high on this Nationals lineup. Got some power, got some speed, a lot of young hitters, and Barrios has a history of struggling against lefties. Didn't look great his first start. Hoping the Nationals can do some damage here. I am against Barrios, so obviously not on him, and really not on Williams either. Blue Jays, I think, are interesting, as they are most nights, just with their ability to make contact. Didn't really happen for him yesterday, but I do think we're going to see some big rallies out of this team going forward. Steve, what are you doing with Nationals and Blue Jays here?
Yeah, I'm with you on the Nats. I've got 2 bets today, and Nats money line is one of them, plus 140. For basically the reasons that you said here. Like, Williams is, just a veteran, steady arm, had a good year last year, even though he outperformed peripherals a bit. Just kind of an arm that I trust more than Jose Barrios right now. Yeah. I think Barrios is going to be super volatile, and he's going to give up power. We know that. We saw that in his first start too. So, I am on the Nats here. They're so easy to stack because everyone outside of Abrams and James Wood are just free. So, in your Nats stacks, just make sure you have those 2, and then you can kind of mix and match, I think, with the rest of the lineup if you want to full stack them. I don't really see any issues with any of the guys in the lineup at these price tags. So, I like the Nats bats here. It's actually kind of weird because I don't love a ton of offense in this slate, but I do like spots in these first couple games, and I'm not playing much of the pitching. So, I think Toronto's fine. I do think Toronto comes in pretty owned here, though, against a pitcher who can be frustrating to stack against, right? Like, I feel like we tried to make it work when Trevor Williams was healthy last year and just kind of finds a way to get through 5-6 innings with 2 earned runs. It could go south for him, but I'll probably be lower than the field on Toronto. I get the spot, you're fading an aging pitcher, but just one of those guys. He's like a Miles Michaelis, where it's very frustrating at times to stack against him, and it's usually a pretty popular spot. So that's kind of where I'm at with Toronto.
I think that makes sense. Yeah, I definitely tried stacking against Williams too much last year. Didn't work. I can't really ever remember it working super well, to be honest. Maybe once or twice. These lineups are out. So as I mentioned, the 6 straight lefties against Barrios just screams trouble, I think, for Barrios early in this game. Hopefully the Nats can get to him early. And also say the Blue Jays bullpen is pretty gassed out right now. If they're able to get Barrios out of there in 4 or 5 innings, could be a game where the Nationals pile on late. And I think the only pinch hit risk among their top 6 hitters, at least, would be Nathaniel Lowe. I think Abrams, Wood, Ruiz, Bell, and Garcia would all be safe from that in most scenarios. Lowe is the better hitter, but Bell, I think, is the one more likely to stay in there just because he's a switch hitter. So, tough question. Honestly, do you have a lean there, Steve? A strong lean between those two? I think it's pretty close.
I don't have a strong lean. I did make sure that Bell projected better than Lowe, so that when it's building Nat stacks, it'll pull Bell before Lowe, just because I do think that Lowe has more of the pinch hit risk. Yeah,
Lowe's been really, really bad against lefties so far. Yeah. So he could come out of there for sure. But regardless, we both like the Nats quite a bit. Some interest in the Blue Jays as well, but it's the national side of this one that both of us are heavier on. No real interest, doesn't seem like, in either pitcher. Let's go to the your neck of the woods. The White Sox are going to host. Can I disavow the Twins forever? Just be done with this squad
already.
Yeah, already. There's been a rough ride for the Twins.
Yeah, it has.
Have yet to win a game.
Have any of their games been close, or have they just gotten pounded every game?
I think that,
it feels like they've gotten pounded.
Maybe the first game was close. It's been rough for the Twins. They've gotten pounded so far. They pulled their starters or their stars, Correa, Buxton, in the 4th inning against the White Sox on Sunday.
Yeah.
Now they got to play in this miserable weather again, right? You're in the area. It's 45 degrees. Looks like strong winds blowing in. I mean, just miserable, especially hitting conditions. Shane Smith versus Simeon Woods Richardson. I'm not playing any hitters in this game with this weather. I mean, these aren't great pitchers or anything, but I'm just not going to these bats. I guess you could play Woods Richardson, but
he's not that cheap is the issue. He's not that cheap. These Twins pitchers have just been disappointing so far. It's just not a team I want to buy into at the moment when there are other options I like on the slate. So I'm writing off the Twins on this one, Steve. I'm not playing any Twins today, and frankly, I'm probably not playing any White Sox either. So if you got recommendations from either of these teams for the people, I'm sure they're all ears. So we've liked some bats in the first 3 games. I'm with you. I'm not playing any bats here. It's 43 right now. It's going to get cooler as the night goes on. Just miserable weather right now, which always happens. Last week it was in the 70s all week. I was like, oh, sweet, I'm going to the Cubs home opener next week, and now it's going to be fucking 40 degrees on Friday when I go to the game. It does this every year. So no bats for me here. I think depending on how many lineups you play, I think the pitchers are interesting, right? This total is at 7.5 and it's coming down. 2 arms that you're not excited to play, but I guess are playable in, perfect spots. And if you're not using these pitchers in a situation like this, you're just never going to. The White Sox bats have been hot to start the year, but we know that that's not going to continue. Yeah. Maybe the power will for a couple of these guys. Shane Smith's a non-prospect, but has had good numbers last 2 years in the minors with some strikeout upside, lots of ground balls. He's cheap. I think that would be if you're playing 20 plus, you mix him in some. But the issue is on this slate, you're going up against guys like Gilbert Sale, Mike King, Justin Steele, who I think are all good plays. Casey Mize we'll talk about later. So I just think there's some opportunity cost playing pitchers who probably have a ceiling of about 13, 14, right? So kind of a full cross-off game for me, except for possibly including the pitchers in MME.
Yeah, I mean, the pitchers probably will be fine here, pitching in this weather. As long as they're able to throw strikes, it's going to be so hard.
Coming down too, so.
Yeah. Woods Richardson, I mean, if it wasn't for just how – this is probably a mistake on my part, but, by the numbers, I do think he's a pretty good play. It's just – I just don't trust this Twins team right now, and there's other plays I like on an 11-game slate. So I'm not going to get there. I get it with Woods Richardson. And honestly, 6,500 for a decent pitcher against the Twins in this pitching environment, it can't be bad either. So, it's the pitchers here if you do want to play something from this game. personally going to look elsewhere. Let's go to Milwaukee. We'll go indoors for this one. Brewers and Royals. Chad Patrick pitching for the Brewers here. No Vinny Pasquantino in there for the Royals, unfortunately, but still, I think a pretty good spot overall for the Kansas City Royals. And then the Brewers, who they are off to a rough start too, got absolutely pounded by the Yankees. And man, like Jackson Chirinos,
pounded by the Yankees. Oh my God.
Just pounded by the Yankees. I can't believe they didn't start like throwing at the Yankees or doing
I know,
something.
right?
You get just home run after home runs, like every single inning there's another home run.
Yeah. It was like that Bugs Bunny episode, where they're going around the bases.
Yeah, it was. They just absolutely blasted them. So we'll see. It could be just a blip on the radar. Obviously the torpedo bats the Yankees were using that's the talking point in baseball right now. I think that talk will kind of fade quickly, is my guess. But for right now, that's all everybody's talking about. But yeah, Michael Lorenzen going for the Royals. Again, kind of a league average type arm. Brewers are struggling. I still don't think I'm going to get to Lorenzen. And then I do like the Royals, but losing Vinny P is like one of the kind of the key pieces of their lineup. There's a lot of pinch hit risk here. It's not that many bats I'm excited about outside of Witt. So I do think they're going to have a good day against the Brewers, but not sure exactly who it's going to be. Steve, what are you doing with Royals and Brewers here?
Yeah, it sucks that Vinny isn't starting. The lineup came out like 5 minutes after I bet the over in this game too. I do kind of like both sides for reasons that you were talking about. The Royals got our guy AP home. I think that was yesterday afternoon in the early slate. Chad Patrick, another fly ball prone young arm here who had serious issues allowing power at the minor league level. He had a 5.6 ERA, 4.87 xFIP throughout the minors last year, 8 ERA and 6.31 once he was moved to AAA. We know the Royals have some upside bats in Witt and Salvi, and they're surrounded by cheap guys around them. I do have the same pinch hit concerns that you do with a couple of these bats. Kevin Biggio probably does not play this whole game. MJ Melendez has risk. Isbell has risk.
See, the lefties.
He has risk. But like India, Witt, Salvi, I think is a really, really strong 2 or 3 man one-offs here. Renfroe has power, probably safe. I mean, they just let him play the field, and he botches at least one play a game out in the outfield. I was watching him over the weekend, and he dove at a ball that he missed by maybe 8 feet. And I was like, that's the full Hunter Renfroe experience. You have him in there. He strikes out 3 times, hits a bomb.
He's not even a good hitter. I don't understand why they tolerate the defense.
Yeah, so he goes 0 for 4 with 3 Ks and misses a ball by 8 feet in the outfield diving for it. But I do like both sides, despite the slow start for the Brewers with their bats. You have to think that they get it going at some point. Like the top of this order is too good to continue to struggle. Churio, Yelich, Contreras. You got Turang, I believe, is probably leading off here. I haven't looked at the line. Let me pull it up.
Yeah, now. He is. Yep.
He is. So, yes. So the top 4 here are really good. Hoskins has pop in the 6 hole, obviously. And Lorenzen, like you said, arguably the luckiest pitcher in baseball last year. Check out these stats. Since I did the playbook, I have these handy. 236 BABIP for the entire season, an 83% strand rate, with the slate worst 5 xFIP, 4.59 expected ERA, with a slate worst 11.2 walk rate last season. All of that, and he had a 3.3 ERA somehow. So this is a guy that I came into the year wanting to attack. And I'm going to start here with the Brewers. I think it's a really, really good bounce back spot for them to score. We get probably their best lineup here. I would say it just sets up well, especially since like the 2 top offenses on the slate. The Dodgers and the Yankees both have tough matchups. These secondary type of offenses that are in good spots are kind of where I want to go, and I think it's a good spot for the Brewers here.
Yeah, Lorenzen did have some pretty severe reverse splits last year. 354 ex-Woba to righties versus 301 to lefties. Strikeout rate was lower to righties, more power given up. So, yeah, maybe Churio and Contreras can get going. A little bit of a slow start to their season, but pretty good spot here. I was maybe had underrated the Brewers a little bit. I do think they make sense playing at home here. We know it's a good home run park as well, even when the roof is closed. So I like that call on Milwaukee, really on both offenses in this one. Royals and Brewers should be a game we see some scoring in. Out to St. Louis we go for what's going to be another tough game for offenses, at least for home runs. Strong winds blowing in. We got 15 to 20 mile per hour winds in from right center field, going to be around 60 degrees at game time for a big park anyway. So don't expect a lot of power in this one, but we do have two very mediocre pitchers going. Matthew Liberatore for the Cardinals, throwing from the left side, probably not going to go super deep into this game. And then Kyle Hendricks. Now was he on the Angels last year? I don't think so. Can't remember.
Doesn't really matter where he was.
Yeah. It's kind of like the hardest guy to remember where he's going to be on a new team every year until he retires. Because you can only take 1 year of watching Hendricks is like 85 miles per hour.
The manager's like, I will leave if we have him in the rotation.
Yeah, me or Kyle. One of the two of us has got to go. I would be on the Cardinals here if the weather wasn't like it is.
Same.
But as it stands, it's just hard. It's just hard to invest in the bats here. Kind of like the Twins and White Sox game a little bit. Similar weather, at least. Steve, what are you doing here with Cardinals and Angels?
Yeah, on an 11-gamer, this is one of the ones that I don't really have much interest in, either the arms or the bats. I just don't think either arm is upside enough for different reasons. Hendricks, because of the lack of strikeout upside, he has a 2.5 K prop.
Not what you want to play in DFS.
Right. And then Liberatore, like you said, really worried about his leash on a slate with a bunch of arms. So don't really like either of them for DFS. And then, man, like the Angels are off to a slow start, and now they have to go to St. Louis where it's cold with the wind blowing in. I just don't really like it. I actually like the under in this game. I'm surprised that it's sitting at 8.5 here. So, yeah, I think this is just a full cross-off game on a big slate.
I'm with you. Not going to anything from Angels. If you had to play a bat from each side, who would it be?
I actually just X'd all the bats, so I don't even have the lineup anymore. I actually don't mind the top of the order for St. Louis. Newt Barr is still cheap, off to a good start this season. They do have some pitch hit risks, though, that if you're playing here, I would be careful of. Burleson, Gorman, both pinch hit risks for sure for St. Louis. So I'll say Newt Barr.
Yeah, Newt Barr and Victor Scott, my guy down there at the bottom. I feel like the Cardinals are going to open up with like 3 solidly struck 360-foot flyouts to start this game. Like squared up, looks good, but like not even close to at the edge of the track, something like that. Seems like
and then lose the under somehow late in the game.
Yeah, something like that. We'll have this Angels and Cardinals game go. Let's go to Houston next. We've got Astros and Giants. Logan Webb making his second start of the year, I believe. First one was, not great against the Reds. And then Hayden Wesneski, former Cub, now with the Astros. Again, kind of an unremarkable arm. I don't think I'm playing either of these pitchers tonight, I guess, if you could make a case for Webb, but I just don't play him that often outside of San Francisco and against a contact-oriented team like the Astros. I don't think I'm going to get to Webb. Not a lot of interest in Wesneski for me. So it would be bats here, which I think they're at least interesting. We're talking about Steve, Giants and Astros. What are you doing?
Yeah, I think Webb's okay. Obviously, him pitching at Great American Ballpark, probably like the worst spot for him, and of course didn't go well. I was hoping he'd be a bit cheaper here, but I think he gets lost in the shuffle. Houston going to have, 8 right-handed bats here against him with Jordan, the only lefty. I'm a bit concerned with the Astros offense. Like, they have not done anything. They don't have much pop in this lineup outside of Jordan. Altuve's getting older. They already moved him to left field. Yeah, I mean, they're 26 in weighted runs created plus, 29th in ISO to start the season. I think this is a spot just kind of in general. It doesn't have to be with Webb right now, but to be early on, maybe Houston is not a great offense this year and attack them with some pitching early, especially with right-handers who are good against right-handed bats since they're so right-handed heavy in this lineup. So, it's a good pitcher's park for him. Much better than pitching in Cincy. So, yeah, I mean, he isn't a guy that I use very often too, but I'm seeing under 5% owned against a team that has not hit at all. And I do think I want to lean into attacking Houston with some good right-handed pitching. And I think Logan Webb is good enough to get this done. And we do know that he's going to go deep in this game for guys who are going early in the season. I trust that if things are going good for Webb, that he can give us some duration here. So he is in my pool for 20. I'm not playing him on a main or anything like that, but I think he's an interesting pivot to like a Steele, Michael King, guys like that.
Yeah, the Astros have 8 right-handed hitters in their lineup, which you don't see that very often, especially against a righty like Logan Webb. Jordan Alvarez, the only left-handed bat in there. So certainly something to keep an eye on. And I do agree, overall, that does make Webb more appealing. But I think, if they're going to be that right-handed heavy, we could get some righties who are, have big platoon splits themselves who project pretty well against the Astros. So definitely something to keep in mind going forward. Did you touch on the Giants bats against Wisniewski?
Yeah, I was just about to. So Wisniewski, I'm not sure what to believe with him. I was hoping that you would have a strong opinion for or against him. The Giants team total is pretty high here. It's 4.7 on Sabre, which is the 3rd highest on the slate. I was not expecting that. I will say they have a free guy at shortstop that helps, especially if you're wanting to play Logan Gilbert, Sales, guys like that. I worry about pinch hit risk for Lamont Wade, especially if this team is going to pick up some steam with the ownership. But like 2 through 5 with the free guy, I like that. I don't play the Giants too often. I think because of this team total, it's just kind of jarring me that the Giants have nearly a 5 team total in Houston. What do you think about Wisniewski overall, like as an arm?
I've never really been a fan. He's got the huge sweeper, but not a lot else. He can't get chases on that pitch. He can run into some trouble. And sometimes those higher team totals that you expect, right, are like, it's like, you feel like you're almost like missing something.
Right.
But sometimes you just trust it. Sounds like you might be leaning that way a little bit with the Giants tonight.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've been trying to find a couple more offenses to play since I really only liked a few. And also, this is a Sabre team total, not their implied team total. So there were some spots last year where Sabre had a team total like half a run higher than their Vegas one, and they just smashed. So might be leaning into that here, especially since I'm looking for spots to play,
Yeah, no, I totally get that. The offenses that you really want to play are somewhat limited on the slate, partly due to the parks, the weather, all that stuff. So, I think the Giants deserve to be solidly in consideration. I'm with you on that. Cleveland and San Diego next as we get out to the West Coast. Obviously, Pitchers Park here at Petco Park in San Diego. Going to be especially true tonight, where it's going to be in the mid to high 50s and looks like some pretty strong winds blowing in from center field. Normally you've got, at least moderate conditions with modest winds is kind of the worst you get here. So this is pretty rough for even for Petco. Should be a pitcher friendly environment, which could prove good for Michael King, who somehow got hit by the Braves, who I don't think they've gotten a hit since the Michael King outing on opening day, but they did get to King. Yeah, he got roughed up pretty badly by the Braves. Ozzie Albies with the big 3-run home run in that one. Looks to bounce back here against the Guardians, and looks like a pretty decent matchup to me. I know the Guardians have some high contact bats up top in Kwan and Ramirez. They've got some more strikeout guys now, though, down at the bottom of the lineup than they have had in the past couple of years. So, Michael King, if you believe he's the same pitcher that we saw for most of last year, He's got to be a strong play here. I've got some concerns with King. One of them, Steve, he started off horribly last year too. He was awful for I think at least the first month of the season before turning it on. And he got to pitch at home against the Braves, who have sucked other than that. So it's not like it's not like he was pitching in some freezing cold weather and he couldn't grip the ball, or he was at home and he was in a good matchup. And didn't perform last year at the beginning of the season. So I do worry a little bit about that, but I think on paper he's a pretty good play. And then Logan Allen going up against the Padres, no interest in Logan Allen for me. I would be on the Padres here, but one of several teams where it's just hard to get there with the weather and park that they've got to play in. Padres kind of fall into that bucket with the Cardinals for me, where I like the matchup, don't like the hitting environment. What are you doing, Steve, with Guardians and Padres here?
Yeah, I'll do the bats first. Kind of in the same boat with the bats. I do have interest in the power righties for the Padres against Logan Allen, even in this weather. We saw him give up over 2 home runs per 9 last season. Has had a huge issue with pops. So I'm leaving Tatis and Machado in the pool to be pulled as one-offs. I'm not going to stack any Padres here, but I think leaving Tatis in the pool in a matchup against a lefty who cannot get right-handed out, obviously I don't like the weather, but I'm going to keep those guys in the pool.
They're gonna have to hit it through 20-mile-per-hour winds directly into their face out to left field.
And they do have a couple cheap guys too. If you're going to play the Padres, Lockridge is starting at 2,300 in the outfield, who I think is interesting. But I do like King here. It's a good bounce back spot. He just couldn't throw strikes in that Braves game, and they just kind of waited him out. Fully stretched though, so I don't really have any pitch count concerns with him. Rough first outing. 28% strikeout rate last year. It's second best on the slate behind Sale. Big favorite at home and a good pitcher's park. And like you said, with the wind blowing in, I just think it's a good bounce back spot for him. Yeah. He should be more than 8,700. The pitching up, the reason it's hard for me to get to a guy like Woods Richardson is because, Gilbert, Sale, King, and Steele are all 9K or less. You're not saving that much money by playing a much, much worse arm. So I have interest in King. I'll definitely have him in my 20. It's a good bounce back spot. And then just picking off some Padres one-offs.
Yeah, I'm with you on King. I do think he's solid. But I can't get to the Padres bats. I'm totally with you on the righty power against Logan Allen. Clearly the way to attack him. I just
might not be the spot for it. Yeah,
too much of a wimp with the park and the weather today. We'll go to Seattle, which actually saw offense last night. Tigers and Mariners. We'll see if that happens again. I hope not, Steve, because I'm on the arms here in Seattle. Logan Gilbert going for the Mariners, coming off. He was solid in his first outing against the A's. 7 innings, 8 strikeouts. Actually, one of the better pitching performances that we've seen so far on the young season. I mean, I don't really see any reason to expect anything other than more of the same from Gilbert, who's been super consistent, obviously even better when he's been at home. Got a pitcher's umpire behind the plate tonight. And, I mean, let's be honest. On DraftKings, at least, Gilbert is at least $1,000 underpriced compared to the rest of the pitchers who I would argue a lot of these pitchers, Steve, are once you get past the Sales, Gilberts, Kings, Burnses, then the pitchers kind of become overpriced, I think. So even relative to the slate, I think Gilbert is underpriced. And he's a 10K pitcher anyway. So, I mean, to me, the reasons for not playing Gilbert are you just think the ownership is too high, right? That's kind of the end of the whole list. To me, he's clearly the safest and highest upside arm on the entire slate. Again, if he's going to be 60% owned, I can see the case for going a different direction. Obviously, an individual decision there. But I expect Gilbert to put up 20 plus and with the best chance for 30 plus as well. So don't know what else really to say about Gilbert. Awesome play if you're okay with the ownership. And then Casey Mize, been a former top prospect. He's been mediocre at best for the Pirates so far in his young career, but made some, real changes, it looks like, in the offseason. You can, they measure everything now, not just the velocity, but the break, induced vertical break, all kinds of stuff on every pitch. They've got the stuff in spring training to look, and he does look like one of the pitchers who probably made some decent changes that should lead to better results for Casey Mize going forward. It certainly was true in spring when the strikeouts were there. I think he had 25 in 19 innings for a pitcher who, that's been one of his main problems, right? The strikeouts haven't been there for Casey Mize for the most part. So I kind of believe it for Mize, or at least I want to find out tonight for 7,500 in Seattle against the Mariners team, who is very strikeout prone in general. So Casey Mize, last year we did the most important pitcher question for me. That answer today would be Mize, especially when you consider the price and ownership. So I'm in on Mize, in on Gilbert, and I'll pass here on the bats. Steve, what about you? What are you doing with Seattle and Detroit?
Yeah, I was pumped when I opened your article and you mentioned Mize because I like him too. And yeah, like a perfect spot to try to be early on what we think is a meaningful change going into Seattle against this lineup at night. They were the highest strikeout rate in baseball against right-handed pitching last year. I'm buying into it. He's got more upside clearly than Wood Richardson. He has the pedigree, was the first overall pick in 2018, missed nearly 2 seasons, right? 22 and 23 he missed. You're buying the pedigree on a high upside arm that has made a meaningful change. So I'm in on that, especially on this slate where I don't really want to play that much Woods Richardson, who I think is going to come in more owned than the projections. I just don't buy that he's only going to be 5%.
I agree. People are going to buy the Woods Richardson Kool-Aid. They'll be drinking it for sure.
For sure. And then, you said all the things that I was going to say about Gilbert Grape, popular AL Cy Young choice. I think we gave that away in the Discord before the season. Was awesome at home last year, 2.49 ERA, 0.83 whip, 115 Ks and 101 innings. Yeah, he's projecting to be high owned. I think it's well deserved on this slate. He has the highest projection by 5 for captains projections DC. So he's a lock for me in like a main team. I think I put him in my core at like 10 a.m. this morning. So like I will be starting my 121 team with Logan Gilbert and just kind of going from there. So I'm on both arms here. What helps Mize too, you've seen the back end of this Seattle lineup, like after Luke Raley, it's Rowdy Tellez, who I didn't even know was still in the league, Ryan Bliss, Miles Mastroboni, and JP Crawford. So pretty soft landing spot after you get through the top of the order here for him. And like you said, it's just a good spot to try to be early on a talented arm.
Yeah, and I'm not exactly super worried about Victor Robles leading off for the Mariners either. So we'll see on Casey Mize. I mean, obviously a decent chance that Mize is just still Casey Mize and isn't good, but even if he's not improved, at 7,500 in Seattle against the Mariners on this slate, he's pretty solid play anyway. So we're in on the Casey Mize train tonight. Hopefully he looks good out there. And I know you have no problem, right, playing the 2 pitchers in the same game, Mize and Gilbert.
I do that probably more than anyone else. I'm not sure if it's good or not, but I think people, especially like if you're playing the 121, people are clicking lineups. I think people actively avoid doing it, The Sims are going to tell you not to do it in MME because obviously you're giving up 4 points of projection. But I think in single entry stuff, it makes more sense.
Yeah, I like it. 2 more games to talk about. We'll do favorite pitchers and some home run calls to end it after that. Any questions, go ahead and throw them in chat, guys. We do appreciate you watching. Hit the like button if you haven't yet done so. And, of course, join us over at runpuresports.com. You can use promo code RPS15 for 15% off. Awesome time to join with baseball going. We got tons of content all over the place, from baseball winners, Masters coming up, NBA playoffs, everything.
Final four. Final four.
Final four. My bad, Steve. You're on. You'd be disgusted if you knew how little NCAA basketball I've watched.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm live tweeting the games for you so you can follow along.
Yes, I do. My main source of information is you live tweeting college basketball. By the way, does our broom bet have any chance?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I think what they might do is just do co-players of the year, which would cash it, which would be beautiful.
That would be nice. Nice Thunderdome on April 11th that I've been eyeing up. So we'll have to see.
Hopefully we have a show that day.
John Broom Player of the Year gets home. Let's do Cubs and Athletics next. For those that aren't aware, A's also playing in a new park in Sacramento. It is outdoors. I did see there was a home run hit there yesterday that was labeled as only would have been a home run in that park. I didn't see where exactly that was hit, so something to look up. But at least to one dimension, it's a hitter-friendly park.
Right down the line and left is like 320.
Okay, it must have been that. So, yeah, good to know that on that. We've got Justin Steele going for the Cubs. No surprise, he's off to a rough start, Steve. He had to face the Dodgers in Tokyo and then the red-hot Diamondbacks next. So, two buzzsaw offenses. I think he gets back on track here, though, against the A's in Sacramento. So I do like Justin Steele there at 8,200. And then Luis Severino looked pretty solid. His opening start against the Mariners, but obviously a much tougher spot here against the Cubs. I don't think I'm going to get to any Severino. I gave him a look, but didn't quite make the cut for me. Sounds like you're on the same page. What are you doing, Steve, with Cubs and A's?
Yeah, Cubs won our guy Bryce 100K last night. He had a full Cubs stack with Rays, I believe, with the cheap Rays. So same thing I did, except I had Dodgers. Damn. But yeah, no, the Cubs bats are hot to start the year. This park is basically the same dimensions as Oakland Coliseum. So I don't think it's going to be a hitter's park until it gets hot there in Sacramento in the summer. But I mean, the Cubs offense against Severino coming out of Seattle, I think are good plays, especially the lefties. The top of the order, Happ, Tucker, Michael Busch, three hot lefties to start the year. They got the prospect Matt Shaw in there. Hasn't really done much yet, but I do think that he's going to have a good year. So I think the Cubs are pretty good plays. There's always, being kind of tepid playing a team the day after they scored 20 runs. But yeah, I think the Cubs for sure are in play. I'm not sure if I'd get off of any of them. I kind of like the whole lineup. And then Steele, I think, is a great play. We've got a couple guys in big-time bounce-back spots. We talked about King, Logan Webb. Steele's in that bucket too. I think he's the safest out of those three, either him or King. There's more strikeout upside for his matchup than King's, I think. Do you have a lean between those two, Steele and King? I'd really like Steele here.
I'm on Steele between the two.
Yeah, I mean, had an awesome season last year, 2.74 expected ERA, which is better than sales. A little lower strikeout rate. The A's offense does have some pop, but I'm just going to be trusting the long-term numbers of steals and looking for a bounce back here.
Yeah, I think Steele underprojected and underowned because of the first two starts of the year, which obviously very, very different story here going up against the A's. I was laughing there. I saw the message you sent me in Discord, which we can't reveal on this show, but
no.
I was thinking the same thing. So I did get a kick out of that. Let's get to the last game on the slate. Braves and Dodgers. Chris Sale going for the Braves. Dustin May going for the Dodgers. Talented arm.
Good to see him back.
What's that?
Good to see him back. He's fun.
Might not be for long, so enjoy watching Dustin May while he's out there. Dealt with a lot of injuries. Don't mean to make light of it, but just been the truth with Dustin May. What are you doing with this one, Steve? I think this one is, I could see making the case for Sale. I could see making the case for May. I can't play the Braves, but the Dodgers could get to anybody. I ended up kind of just going away from this game for the most part, thinking maybe Sale and the Dodgers kind of cancel each other out to score a couple runs, but don't do any real damage. But 8,800 Chris Sale, even against the Dodgers, I do think he's worth considering. What are you doing, Boynton, with Dodgers and Braves?
Yeah, on this slate where we don't love a ton, it's Gilbert, King, Steele, Mize, and Sale, I think. 8,800, just a really, really cheap price for his upside. We don't have the lineup yet, but Freeman sat yesterday. That would be an upgrade for Sale, replacing Freddie Freeman with Kike Hernandez. Obviously a tough matchup, but this is the reigning Cy Young Award winner with a 32% strikeout rate. It's a tough matchup, but the projections there. This will be the lowest own you get Sale all season, and he's not going to be 8,800 for long. So I think he's a better play. If you're playing multiple lineups, like I play 20, I don't think I'd use him on a main, but I'm definitely going to have him in 20 because he could easily be the SP1 on the slate, despite the tough matchup. So obviously like him a little bit more if Freeman's out. We don't have that lineup yet, but the underlying stuff's good. His stuff looked just fine in his first start, despite the not great results. So that's kind of the theme of this slate, right? Guys who had bad first starts, but we think are going to bounce back. So Sale has the toughest matchup of all of those guys, but obviously the highest strikeout upside.
Yeah, it's the beginning of baseball season is always like that, where you don't have any other data, right? So the players that come out hot or the pitchers that come out pitching well, it's easy to assume there's a new level there or something like that. Whereas if it was just one start in the middle of the season, it would just be a blip on the radar, one good or bad start. But since it's the only one that we've seen, hard not to overreact to that kind of thing, which of course we'll try to take advantage of other people doing that in DFS. Sale, even in a tough matchup like this, to me, he's one of those pitchers, Steve, where if he's on his game, Chris Sale, he's capable of making any hitter look foolish, including guys like Ohtani and Mookie Betts. So the upside is there for Sale. I would say the floor is much lower than it usually is against the Dodgers, but I do think the upside remains intact. That's all 11 games. Let's do pitching, and then we'll do some home run calls to end the show. I already kind of gave away mine, but my most important pitcher today is going to be Mr. Casey Mize. Not the most comfortable of plays, but I do think we're going to see some real changes from him. I think he's going to be better, and I love the matchup in Seattle against the Mariners. You might be going chalk here, Steve, but who do you think is going to be your most important pitcher of the night?
No, I'll go off the board. I think people know who we think the best arms on the slate are. I'll say Logan Webb. We're seeing him under 5% owned. Captain is 2 points higher on projection with him than the industry. So I'm going to lean into that. His strikeout projection looks okay. And like we said, I'm just going to lean into playing right-handed pitching against Houston early, given what we've seen so far with their lack of power and their 8 righties. And if they're just going to keep spamming 8 righties against good right-handed arms, I'm just going to have to play them.
But Logan Webb for Boynton. What about a home run call, Steve? You got one for me? Who's going yard tonight?
I'm going to go to the Brewers, who I talked about earlier, having a bounce back night. I'm going to go with William Contreras, right on right matchup with Lorenzen going deep.
Love it. And I'll stick with a player we've talked about on this show quite a bit, Mr. Keibert Ruiz. Looks good to me from the Nationals, hitting third, relatively cheap, and obviously at the toughest position to fill in general, playing catcher. Love Ruiz hitting from the left side against Jose Barrios. All right, Steve, that'll do it for this Tuesday show. We do have early baseball tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Schedule says I'll be there, Stats and Big T. So it should be a fun one on Wednesday morning. I believe that is at noon Eastern time. Double checking here. Yeah, should be at noon Eastern time tomorrow. Stats, Big T should be a good show tomorrow morning. Make sure to join us for that one. Hit the like button on your way out if you haven't yet done so. And thanks for watching, as always. That'll do it for Boynton. I'm DC. We're out of here.